Hey guys, Lancer here. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining me on look into some MTG market movers for the week. And it's been probably about a bit more than a week, but let's have a look at what's been happening because there is some interesting stuff coming out from the Federal Reserve and from the way the markets have been moving in the last week, which may put a price bottom on the markets overall, and that means stocks and housing and all that, which will probably affect the cards. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a couple of different ways you can actually check for a market bottom. It's when everyone thinks that the bottom is not in, where there's more to go to fall. And I think at this point, there might be more people that are actually thinking there's more downside risk to everything that's market wise than there are people that are thinking there's a lot of upside risk. And there might be good reasons for that. And I probably wouldn't go all in on any one of these options because even the Federal Reserve is completely useless. But when I think about the overall governments of the world, they're probably not going to let things crash, but they certainly would act like they wouldn't let things crash so that people go and check that the markets are behaving as they're meant to, or that they can actually trust the fact that they're going to have a job next year. So if that doesn't make any sense, maybe I'll cover it at the end of the video, but let's just jump right into it. Badlands, let's have a look at what's going on TCG Player. Downturn, obviously, massive movement all the way down. Flatlining for the last couple of days. I'm not 100% sure exactly how accurate this is. It is flatlining, like flat, very, very flat. It doesn't really make much sense. You can see it a couple of times. Maybe it's preparing for another 20% to a $20 drop, but right now it just looks completely flat. And we can see a moderately played, lightly played for 456. That still feels a bit expensive. Moderately played for 349. I guess that's on the better value. The listings numbers is very low, and I'm not so sure this can be trusted. There was a couple of times a couple of weeks ago where this was double digits, and now it's single digits, but the prices haven't moved up by that much. In fact, they might even be lower than they were a couple of weeks ago. That doesn't make any sense. If anything, this looks like it's almost being baited as this is all the supply we have. Let's just put it on the market and see who snaps it up because there's only 8 listings. They can do that because they might have a lot more of these cards than a lot of the regular people. So they can leak out the supply similar to, diamonds or other monopolized assets, where they can just slowly trickle out these cards so that people don't jump on them all in one go. Let's have a look at bio. You can see the downturn, but the last couple of days, last week, it's been a bit of a kick up. Let's see what TCG Player says. Heavily played 354, I would not get into that. Lightly played 504. See, that does feel higher than it was a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago. Not by much. Like, it's been pretty flat, but it does feel like it's got a bit of an upturn. Now, I'm not saying that means that everything is good and it's time to jump in. I'm just saying that people are starting to call a market bottom, and usually, the market's going to continue falling. And when a lot of people do that, that's kind of a risky bet to be against. Normally, you'd want to go the opposite of what a lot of people do because what a lot of people do doesn't make them a profit. So plateau, same thing, flatlining for the last couple of days. 7 listings, crazy, $348 for plateau. Now in Australian, that'll probably actually still be pretty expensive. You're talking about another 40%, 33% added to that, just because of 23%, 33% added to that, just because of the Australian dollar and the US dollar difference. Would I jump into that right now? Probably not, just because of that difference. It's no longer a good bet for me, but you never know what the value you're going to get anyway is. So Savannah, same thing. Let's have a look at what TCG Player says. Bit of an uptick in the last couple of days. Flatlined in August 29th, moving up. Nothing too crazy. That's like literally $2 or whatever. That's nothing crazy. Lightly played for 324. possibly not a bad deal. Like I said, I would probably get lightly played more than anything. Near mint or lightly played. Near mint still seems to have a decent premium on it, so not probably worth it. Scrublands, revised edition. This one already had a bit of a spike, June 25th to July 6th, and it's been flatlining, but now it looks like it's got a bit of an uptick. But $314 for lightly played, cheapest one out there, black and white, so pretty cool. Tiger has, and it looks like it's got a massive dip on MTG stocks, but and I didn't open up this one, so we'll move on to the next one, come back to it. Tundra, once again, bit of a dip going forward, but mostly flatlining in the last couple of days. You can get a lightly played for $494. Once again, that feels like a bit much. I know someone wrote a comment saying that they picked up a really good value reserve list dual land, and I actually thought that was insane value compared to what I'm seeing now. Especially if they picked it up in the last 2 weeks, then it might actually be at least. You might be able to sell it for a profit already, though it is harder to trade second-hand cards between each other in such a short time frame. But it looks like the market has changed a bit in the last couple of days. Once again, no guarantees that it's going to stay like this. All the Federal Reserve has to come and do is increase the interest rates in the next 2 weeks, which they're going to come and meet and do a 75% point increase. They could just do a 1%, and that'll completely tank the markets again, and the Federal Reserve can just be like, you're not listening to us, kind of a thing. That's if they want the market to listen to them that much. Personally, I think that the Federal Reserve likes to create a situation where the market kind of behaves the way they want it to, but also for the investors to not get scared, and that's quite hard to do. That's kind of the tightrope that they had to walk, which is they don't want to spook everyone all at the same time, but they also don't want inflation expectations to continue increasing. And when the markets rise, when the housing prices rise, when these card values rise, then there's a higher likelihood that people are going to expect them to rise even more in the future, which is kind of what happened in 2020 and 2021, which is a lot of people went, oh, prices are rising, they're going to rise even more in the next 2 years. And they did. Then the Federal Reserve didn't see that apparently coming. So, weird. Volcanic Island, you can see again, it's a bit of an uptick on one end. Let's have a look at what TCG Player says. This one's a bit hard to read actually because of the fact that it was already manipulated earlier before, but looks pretty flat to me, so nothing too crazy. Moving on to, what is this? So this is the revised revised edition box price. Now we can see that there was a drop to $636,332 in 2022-08-07. So that is August 7th, $636,332. Now we're looking at $6,459 pretty much just a couple of days ago. So nothing too crazy. This is less than, what is it? This is less than 2%. $100 out of 6,000. So that's a very small percentage. But that increase is kind of how you'd expect the market to behave if you're looking at a bottom. You can see that there was a very small amount of time. So it did it in January 19th to April 19th. That was a bit of an increase, but then only dropped by a certain amount. And then the next time it did that, it went up by almost 20%. So I'm not saying it's going to go up 20% again, but the market is starting to act like it's finding a bottom. Now, I'm not too sure why, other than the fact that there's a bit of a double speak coming from the Federal Reserve. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on what happens in the next couple of weeks and just see, because there's a chance that these markets are faster acting than the stock market, which is weird. So, movers and shakers for standard. Well, obviously you're going to see things like Liliana of the Veil, $40.84, a 9% drop. So, with this Liliana coming, she is very hard to get, but it doesn't look like that's stopping the prices from coming down because expectations are more Liliana to be out there. So, you're going to probably see the prices drop by a decent amount. Timeless Lotus, this card, it's not as good as it really should be. It probably is hard to get, which might keep the prices pretty high. But $27.83 and a 14% drop this week. Expect this one to probably sit around the $20 mark very soon. Jaya, Vasoon, Diplomacy, 21% drop to now sit at $9.97. Khan Legacy, $5.99 to now sit at $18. You're going to have a lot of trouble with a lot of these cards actually staying and holding their value now that Dominaria is out. People aren't expecting these to just keep increasing in prices. So, continuing on to Modern. What are we looking at? Ragavant, Nimble Pilferer, 6% gain to now sit at $79.58. Mindbreak Trap, 11% gain to now sit at $33.52. Hallowed Fountain, now sitting at $40. Blood Crypt, almost $40. Doubling Season, now hitting $95. Breeding Pool, almost $36. These are some crazy increases. And man, that pretty much means they're going to have to reprint these soon. Otherwise, it is not going to be something that people are going to keep track on how much they like. It is going to be hard to get into Modern and or Pioneer and or any other format that requires you to have a Hallowed Fountain or a Blood Crypt. A Shockland, sorry, if you do not get these prices low, like these are almost sitting at $40 each. So they might look at another repricing. The other Veil, 4% gain to now sit at $72.51. Now the reason why I think it is way better looking art. And look, I'm not 100% sure if it's going to stay at a higher value, but $72.51 with a 4% gain this week is actually pretty crazy. And she had a 1% drop on the daily losers, daily change. So very low drop, holding her value steady on the weekly. There's a pretty high chance that the old Liliana may not actually drop that much because the art is different. And in some cases, most people would think better. So top losers, Kozilek, Ren 6, Force of Negation, Cavern of Souls, Sword and Fire is a weird one, Emrakul of Aeon's Torn, Ulmorg of the Infinite Jaya. All of these are in the new Double Masters, so they're all going to have a drop. Sword of Fire and Ice has just been bumping up and down, $56.83, a 4% drop. It's nothing too crazy. None of the moves here are really insane. Now this one I did actually think was insane. For Pioneer, Mox Amber jumping up by 16% in the week to now sit at $54.90. And a daily gain of 7% to now sit at $54. Yeah, so same price. Max price, $54.90. Pretty crazy for a one-day move of 7% gain and 16% overall. Mystic Forge, again, 13% gain today and a 30% gain for the week to now sit at $12.48. Heroic Intervention, great commander card, pretty much a staple in any green-colored or any deck that has green in it that cares about creatures. 8% gain to now sit at $16.34. Witherbloom Command, 24% gain to now sit at $4.93. Actually pretty crazy, pretty good card overall. Not a commander card, but obviously in Pioneer it's well played. Cigar Just Aid, 12% gain to now sit at $8.51. Nullhide Ferox, 7% gain to now sit at $1.98. Now what's the reason for that? Discard. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard the Nullhide Ferox, put it onto the battlefield instead putting it into your graveyard. Liliana is now, I assume, playable in Modern. Pioneer. So if she's playable in Pioneer, then this guy is going to make a comeback because you can get a 6/6 on turn 3 for free, I think. And with hexproof, actually quite a pain to deal with. Not everyone runs a board wipe in Pioneer, and at least not every deck. But Liliana, if she's in a deck and you got this guy, just trade him in and you can get out a 6/6 with hexproof on turn 3. Indomitable Creativity, 5% gain to now sit at $15.84. Granite Magistrate, 8% gain to now sit at $10.85. Villas, Broker of Blood, actually a really cool card, 12% gain to now sit at $6.72. And Sage of Hours, 12% gain to now sit at $6.60. Biggest drops, most of them are from Double Masters. Actually, no, sorry, most of these are not from Double Masters. Emrakul, Ulamog, Kalitas, Crucible of Worlds actually is. Alterra, no, that wasn't from Double Masters. Aurelio, the War Leader, was 7% drop for that. Dragon Lord Demoka, 8% drop, $13.01. Yeah, not all of these are from Double Masters, but they are actually pretty consistent in that they are the ones that most people would probably think are outplayed at this point and have gained a lot. Most of these cards are above $15, with some of them hitting above $30+. So not surprising, especially when it comes to Dragon Lord Dramoka. That wasn't Double Masters. So you're going to see some things like that just drop in value anyways. Terror of the Peaks. Good card, now sitting $36.14, a negative 4% drop. Nothing too crazy. That's a special promo Corpse Knight. Anyways, that seems to be most of the changes for the last week. Now, going back to what I was talking about for dual lands and or cards in general and other stuff, I guess, in general. What has been happening? I didn't log in. So what I'm thinking is the main problem is there's two things that are happening. One of them is the European central banks are raising the interest rates, which is apparently a surprise to the market. So what they're doing is they are betting that the value of the European euro, is going to get stronger, and that'll put pressure on the US dollar. Now, the US is way ahead of Europe in its tightening, but they also have more money. So they also have more currency out in supply, so they had to increase further. I think America is 80% of world trade, and Europe is about 20%, or 70%, and Europe is 20%, and the rest of the countries in the world are about the next 10%. So as the US dollar was getting stronger and European dollar was getting weaker, the US dollar was putting a lot of pressure on asset prices around the world. But now that the European dollar is getting stronger and that's putting pressure on the US dollar, that's lowering the price of it. And it looks like it's actually beating it down hard enough that it's increasing the value of asset prices, including stocks, against what the Federal Reserve is doing. So the Federal Reserve is no longer able to send inflation overseas to counteract inflation at home. Instead, they are having to fight the European Central Bank. So that's one thing, and the weaker US dollar is increasing, has a positive effect on gold, crypto, and stocks, and housing and cards, I guess. How long will it go for? I actually don't think very long. I'm thinking about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, which, by the end of this, we'll know what's going to happen by the end of September. So what's the next thing that's going to cause problems? The next one is what is going to happen to energy. Now, energy has been falling pretty strong over the last couple of weeks. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the main ones is interest rates will slow down the economy, or at least that's the thought. But there's also a lot of people saying that what the European Union did over the last couple of months is actually buy excess gas and oil from a lot of countries and stockpile them. I think Germany has a huge stockpile of gas now in preparation of winter. So they kind of front ran their price increase. So now we should expect less demand for gas and oil because Germany's already planned ahead and bought everything they need, or at least enough that they can afford. They're probably going to still have to be rationing, and it's going to cost a lot to do anything heat-wise. But that's still going to be something that we're going to have to see how that translates to. In the real world, what I'm expecting, a lot of what people are expecting, is oil is going to find a level at some point, and it's probably going to go higher again and probably stay higher for a while. And there's not much we can do about it because Russia doesn't want to see the prices go down, neither does UAE or Saudi or any of these countries. They all want to keep the prices pretty high. So we're going to have to see, because if they keep the prices high, then the Federal Reserve is going to have to increase interest rates even more to try to counteract the inflation from higher energy. And yeah, that could put pressure on everything again. So very confusing times. I think once again, while it's looking like a comfortable place to start looking at some of these markets again, it's probably still a good idea to just balance and make sure that you aren't going all in on anything and have some money left aside so that you can get a deal at some point in the future. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening and see you later.